record. Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the final, kind of the final lesson. It's a 2-hour block, so it's a final 2-hour lesson, and it's going to be split into two. We will have a break for 5 minutes or so after the first kind of section, so that you're not completely frazzled by the end of it. So today is this hour is revision techniques. So we're going to be looking at the most effective way for you to revise. So I might need a little bit of input from you guys. So just feel free to type in the chat. That would be great. I'm just going to be showing you what I found to be the most effective ways to revise, because I found that a lot of people don't actually know what to do when they revise. So they sort of like put this timetable together and they're like, right, on Monday, I'm going to revise English. On Tuesday, I'm going to revise maths. And then they sit down and go, oh, don't really know what to do. Now, if you're not that person, that's absolutely fine. If you know what you're doing and you're all good, I'm just going to give you some tips that I think will work anyway. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to timetable your revision. Okay, now I know this sounds really obvious, but I'm going to show you how I do it because it tends to be much more specific and much more what's the word, specific in much more detail is the word I'm looking for. There we go. That's the word. It is the end of the Easter holidays, so I'm frazzled. Okay, so just going to share this with you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in all my times. So I'm going to insert my table, something like that, I think. So we're going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'm sorry, but we are going to put in a Sunday as well. Insert to right, Sunday. Okay, and then we are going to be really, really specific with our time. So I tend to revise in half-hour blocks. Now, a lot of people might say, yeah, but as soon as you get started, you have to finish. However, when you know you've only got half an hour, you get cracking straight away. When you know you've got an hour, you might take a minute, have a read, get ready, you know. So actually, it makes it more productive. So we're going to start 9 to 9:30. 9:30 till 10. Sorry, I should have done this till should have had this ready. You can fast forward this bit when it gets to your playback. Till 11, 11 till 11:30, 11:30 till 12. And I'm going to put in every single time slot, and I'm going to put in every single thing that I do, because it's really important that you also include times for your recreation, for relaxation, for going to the gym or exercise. That's going to be really important for you, because it's really going to help. Time to make sure you're eating properly. It's really easy to think it's better to hammer the revision when actually it's about self-care, because you want to make your brain the most powerful it can be, so that when you do revise and when you are in your exam, you are actually at your most productive. Otherwise, what's the point? There's absolutely no point in pushing yourself and pushing yourself and pushing yourself and making your brain work at like half capacity when you could work for half the time at full capacity and achieve the same amount. You know, you might as well be effective rather than exhausted. So we're going to go right up till you go to bed. I'm sure some of you go to bed later than I'm going to do, but I certainly don't want you working past this point anyway. Nearly there. And what this also does as well, by splitting it into half-hour blocks, is it also makes you realize, or makes you kind of gives you the psychological illusion, or maybe it's illusion, maybe it's true, that that there's lots of time, and there is lots of time, but we don't want to, equally we don't want that to make you sort of like complacent or make your brain go, oh, we've got loads of time, when actually, you know, we are still on a limit. Right, let me just check I've done all of that. I think I have, yeah. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to put in is eating, okay? So let's allow half an hour for our eating breaks at least. So let's put in a nice, I love my colours as well. So for me, my favourite colour, or the colour I associate with calm and things for me, is a nice pale pink. So I'm going to go with I know this sounds really silly, but things like this make a big difference on what you psychologically associate with things. And this is really going to help you channel your brain. So that's going to be breakfast. Okay. So let's merge all of those. And I know you're probably thinking, well, this is a bit of a waste of time, just putting loads of colours in and stuff. I can assure you this is going to be worth it. Okay, then we're going to have lunch. Let's say lunch at about 1. Oh, well, that didn't work, did it? There we go. And what you're eating is also really important, which we will get into in the next hour as well. I don't know why I wrote breakfast. We want lunch, don't we? And then we want to have dinner in there as well. Dinner, say 5:30. Large cells, pink, dinner. Can't spell dinner today. Having issues with my life. Right, okay. So we know then that I'm just going to put till 10. I know that you probably do stay up past 10, and obviously that, you know, that could be TV time and stuff. That does not mean we're going to be working till 10 o'clock every night. Absolutely not. So while we've got this here, the next thing we're going to be doing, so this is obviously based on, do you know what, let's look at this as going forward. Actually, I was going to do this based on being at home for study leave, but I know some of you don't get study leave. So the first thing we're going to do is put in school. Okay, so let's just put in school. Now, if you don't have school, obviously you can up if you do get study leave, or if it's during your exams, obviously you can amend this. And I would strongly suggest you to, does not work. I would strongly suggest you do so. But do you know what? I'm just going to put school in there like that. I think that's going to be the best thing. Maybe slightly differently. Right, here we go. Let's just do it like this, and then it'll be quicker. So we've got all of these. And I'm guessing you normally finish about 3:30. I'll be generous. I know some finish at 3. And then you've got travel. So we're going to put in, we literally put in everything. Okay. You need to think of everything. So let's allow till 4:30 is going to be travel time. And I always make travel time grey in my diary. So I'm going to make that grey. I'm going to make school blue. So I can see at a glance. This is the thing. You want to be able to see at a glance what it is that you are up to. So you know exactly what you're doing without trying to, you know, look it all. Okay, then we're going to put in anything that you do that is like a club or something like that. So if you go to dancing, or if you go to football, or if you go to ice skating or something, I don't know. I go to the gym, right? So how many times? So let's look at, I'm going to do this based on one of my students who I did this with the other day, okay? So he goes to the gym. He likes to work out for about an hour and a half. And he likes to go 4 times a week. So we did talk about that, and we said that maybe 3 times a week was actually sufficient for him to achieve his fitness goals as well. And he used to go, or he's just sort of coming to finishing. So he was going sort of around this time. Now, it doesn't matter where you put it. If it can change, you know, you might go at 7:30 tonight, you might go at 8 o'clock tomorrow, that's fine. But you can always move it around. It's just about allocating that time to doing something. Okay, so being really specific, we're going to do the same thing. So what I would suggest you do is, while you're on this call with me, try and do your timetable now. Use this time to be doing it now. And then that's going to give you something to work from, all ready to go. when you start revising. So let's say he was going to do it 3 times a week, and he was talking about going on a Saturday as well. He wanted to have a lie-in. He liked sleeping in. So we'll put that there as well. So that's an hour and a half in the gym. Then he would come home and need a shower and all that kind of stuff, and travel. So travel is going to be my grey. So I'm going to put grey, travel to get there, travel to get back. Going to need to do the same, because sometimes we don't allow for this, and then we're like, oh no, I'm behind. I should have been home and I should have done this. And it's like, actually, it's because you've not allowed yourself that time. So make sure you allow enough time for travel. Then when he got home, he was going to have a shower and get ready and things like that. So let's make that, I'm just going to make that purple. Okay. All these things are really important. Yeah. Oh, that did not work. It's important that you acknowledge that they are there, because they are going to get there and they're going to get in the way. And the last thing you want is to feel overwhelmed because things keep interfering with your schedule. So you need to make sure that you do allow time for things like family events. You know, if you like spending time with your family, time with your friends, you know, are you going to go out on a Friday night? So let's say you start getting ready at, I don't know, how long does it take you to get ready? Let's give you an hour. Let's make that purple. So we know that that is getting ready. And then you're going to be, this is your social time. I didn't mean to do that. Social, didn't mean to do that either. I need to find that one. There we go. Social time. Let's make that yellow. Yellow's nice and bright and going outy. So we've got social time there. You might want to have maybe Sunday afternoon and evening off. So let's give yourself some time off there. Yellow is going to be our free time. Okay. And you might want to have Saturday night off as well. So you feel like you have some kind of weekend. So you might want those 3 evenings off. You might want to have a full day off, in which case you would take these and move them over to here. But then that would mean that you would be studying on a Saturday night potentially. Okay. So this is for things like family or social time, friends, that kind of thing. Okay. So once we've done all of that, obviously it doesn't leave that much time, but it does leave us enough, and it makes us see how much time we've got. Now, obviously, you haven't just got English to think about. You've got, most people have got between 9 and 11 GCSEs. So let's look at English. English, I just want to list everything we need to put in. English lang, English lit, science, most people have got physics. So do you see how I'm breaking this down? So physics, biology, if you're doing double science, you have physics, biology, and chemistry. Then we've got, you might have technology. When I did it, you had history or geography you had to choose from. Religious studies. Obviously, yours might be slightly different, but just make your list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maths. Maths, you might have paper 1 and maths paper 2. In fact, I'll just put maths because we've got different papers for other things. We need to add those in as well. Maths, English. If you do a language, so I'm just going to say French. That's what I did. 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 10. Okay. So how many sections have we got here? And then now we're going to look at, realistically, what sorts of times are you going to be studying? Okay. So I would say that here, this half hour here could be seen as a bit of a waste of time. You could go, oh, I've just had my dinner and then I'm going to go to the gym. Well, I would say you've got 2 options here. You either move this to here. That didn't quite work the way I wanted it to, but never mind. You either move it up 1 and have dinner and then go straight to the gym, but you might want to digest your food before you go doing exercise. But because I've done a half-hour slot, you could do something in there. You could revise your language techniques for English literature. Yeah. So we're not just going to put in half an hour of English language here like that. That is not going to help you. Okay. We're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty now. So we're going to make a list in each subject of what we need to study. Now you can list however you want. You could look at it as pages in your textbook. Okay, so say you've got 100 pages and you want to have revised all of it, obviously, before your exams. Let's say we've got, for argument's sake, let's say we've got 4 weeks. So that means we've got 25 pages per week. So to study the entire thing, you need to be looking at 25 pages a week. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to revise 25 pages in one half an hour slot. So you're going to need a couple of slots for that, okay? That's one way of divvying up what you need to revise and how to get it all in. There's another way of doing it, which is with something like, let me think, something like maths. You might list all the what's the word, all the chapters. So you might have all the modules, if you like. So algebra, you might have graphs, you might have can't think of any maths now, area and volume. Do you know what I mean? You could have each of those topics, if you like, and then you could make sure that you look at 1 or 2 of those each week. Okay. And then within that, you can break that down. There was a third way, and I can't remember what I was going to say now. So you can do it with the pages, with your textbooks, to make sure you go through everything. You can do different modules. What was the other thing I was going to suggest? No, it's gone. If I think of it, I will let you know. But I normally use this one, because what that does is it means that you're not going to panic if you've got a lot of pages to do in a short amount of time. But it also means that you are going to feel like you have covered everything without having the pressure of being too meticulous and thinking, oh, I didn't look at this particular question and therefore I haven't got enough, I haven't done enough. And the whole point of this is to make you feel like you are equipped and you walk into that exam room feeling ready. And the other thing I want you to feel more than anything is you walk out of that exam room going, I did everything I could to get the best grade I could under the circumstances of my GCSEs for me. So the last thing I want you to do is walk out going, should have revised more, or oh, I wish I hadn't gone out so much, or, you know, whatever, or I wish I'd revised sooner, or I wish I'd listened in class. None of that matters now. What happens is from this day today and how we are going to fit in everything you need for the next 4 weeks, or for that, well, 4 weeks is when they kind of start, but then obviously you can still be revising through your exams because you're going to have more time. So that's the other thing I was going to do. I was going to say, do it paper by paper. So you could do, for example, English language, you have paper 1 and paper 2. English literature, you have paper 1 and paper 2. Science, physics, I believe you have 1 paper for each, or you did when I did anyway. So there's only 1 paper for each, but I could be wrong there for your particular, I don't know what exam boards you're all doing and things like that. So I'm just going to do this as if it's sort of me and using examples from one of my students. Technology, we had a practical and then we had 1 paper. History and geography, 2 papers. Religious studies, 2 papers. Maths, 2 papers, I think. French, 2 papers. Okay. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 papers to revise for. So have I got 16 slots? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I've probably got, so that's 20 slots just here if I only revised in the week. Now, obviously, if you're only doing half an hour a week on, for example, English language paper 2, that only gives you a maximum of 2 hours revision between now and the start of exams on paper 2. And if we're looking at, for example, if we're looking at paper 2 on English literature, and that's your texts, bear in mind that doesn't give you much revision time on those. So I'm not doing this to frighten you at all. We're looking at this really realistically and saying, well, how much time have we got and what can we revise? But it's going to be something that's going to hopefully make you realise that because of the number of subjects you need to revise for, then you need to start revising now if you haven't done already, just to fit in as much as you can without cramming. Okay. So then we're going to put these in. Now, I want you to really think carefully about how your mind works, okay? So for example, I personally wouldn't put in history revision with English literature revision one after the other, because for me, both are about, history is about remembering a lot of facts and that kind of stuff and a lot of writing, and English is a lot of writing, and doing literature is remembering a lot of facts about the text, the quotes, things like that. So the memory side that's required of me, if I did that all in one night, would probably be, for me, too much. Other people might think, well, actually, I'm already in the mode of remembering things, so I'd rather stay on that, and I would have English literature and history one after the other because they're quite similar for my brain to think about. So think about how your brain works and how you would do that. So I'm going to put these in now. So I'm going to put in here language 1 and language 2, and I'm going to keep my timetable the same every week. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to do 2. I'm going to do an hour of each paper each week. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to do one there and one there. And I find English quite easy and I'm quite good with my language. So I'm going to do that on a Friday because it's a Friday and I know my mindset will be like, well, it's Friday, I don't want to work. So I'll do what I think is easy or that I enjoy on a Friday. And then I'll do it on a Monday just so I've got one at the beginning and one at the end of the week. Then I'm going to look at my, I'm still in the English mode. So I'm going to do Lit 1 and Lit 2 there. And actually, yeah, that's fine. And I'm going to do that on a Saturday. I'm going to do Lit 1 there and Lit 2 there. Because Saturday's nice one. I like English language and literature, and they're quite nice ones to do, and I can fit those in quite nicely. So that's my English done, cross through those. So we've got physics, biology, and chemistry. I'm going to have a science night, I think, and I'm going to make it a Wednesday. So I'm going to do physics, biology, and chemistry. In fact, no, I find chemistry quite hard, and I like biology. So I'm going to put chemistry there. Then I get a break after, and then I'm going to have biology. So that's those, and I'm going to do a bit of that on a Saturday as well. Biology, chemistry, and physics. Okay. Right, so that's my science done. Right, cross that out. Where is it? There it is. Right, next up, I'm going to get my technology. Right, okay, well, technology is not a lot of revision for me, really. So I think what I might do is I might do that on a Sunday morning. That's nice and easy. I don't really have to think about it that much. But I do want to have a bit of a lie-in. So I think actually I'm going to swap 2 of those, get up late, but I'm going to do an extra hour after lunch instead. Like that. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do my technology on a Sunday morning there. And then I've got history and geography. So I'm probably going to do some of that in the week. So I might do 2 history together actually. And then 2 geography together. Because then I might be on a bit of a roll. So and I like those and I just want to keep on board. Now, obviously, if I get to Tuesday and I'm like, get to 5 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I can't do any more history, I can always change it up. I can always say, do you know what, I'll do some geography now and I'll do this one, I'll make history next on Thursday. As long as you switch it, it's fine. Then we've got RE, so let's have RE there and there. Oh, RW, what's that? RE is done. Oh, RE paper 1. RE paper 2. Okay, doke. There's not a lot of for me to revise on that, so I'm just going to do one revision session on those a week. Maths paper 1, 2, and French 1 and 2. Right, so maths, I think I'm going to do right. So I'll already have done 2 hours of studying there, and I think that's a bit too much. I'm going to tell myself now, I've decided I'm going to make a rule that I'm only going to study for 1 hour at a time. So I'm going to take that out, move it there, and that's going to be a break. Now your break can be a half hour, it can be 15 minutes, it can be whatever you want. But I'm going to make that, I'm going to make it pink. That's my break, and I'm going to put another break in there. And that means that I can put in, we've done RE, paper 1 and 2, maths. Could do maths there. Maths, paper 1. I think I'm going to leave that there. And then I was going to put maths paper 2 here, but I don't know if I want to finish my revision on a Saturday and then be doing it the same thing on the Sunday. Because if it's boring or if I'm struggling with it, I don't want to then hit it again the next day. I won't want to do it. I want to give it a bit of space. So I'm going to do maths paper. Actually, I'm going to stick with paper 1 and then maths paper 2 as a double there. So there we've got a nice break. Have we had a break everywhere else? Yes, we have. Okay. And French. Okay, well, if that's my timetable, if I put that there and I have French there and French paper 2 there, I know now that every night I'm going to be finished by 8:30, which is quite late. But remember, you can always chop and change. So if I'm like, actually, I'd rather work on a Sunday morning than work till 8:30 every weekday because I'll be too tired, move them. Put that over there. Put that one maybe over there. Oh, we need a break, remember? Breaks are really important because you just won't remember everything. And put that there. Oh, that didn't work. I'm saying that a lot today, aren't I? Okay. And then that means that I actually finish at 7 o'clock every night unless I'm going to the gym or going out. And I've got weekends off pretty much. Well, not weekends off, but weekend evenings off. Okay. So just checking that's not a message from any of you guys. No, okay. So we now have a bit of a timetable there and we know what we're doing. So it means that you are finished by 12:30 on a Sunday. You are studying on a Saturday afternoon, but again, you could change that. If you want to have Saturday afternoons off or the whole of Saturday off, you could move all of this to your Sunday. It depends on how you're feeling. But then you can tick it off each week and you know what you're doing. So feel free to screenshot that if you want to. Or if you want if you want me to send you, in fact, I could send over with the links, I'll send over the timetable as well, and then you can edit it how you want. But if you're going to do it with subjects, that's really useful because all you need to do is go to, if it's on maths paper 1, then that would be algebra, for example, and that would be graphs. Now, what's interesting about doing that is it means that you are looking at the subjects, you know those subjects have been done, but it also means that when you're coming to do your exam, you know what's on each paper. So obviously, for example, with English literature, I know that one paper I believe is at the end of May, and the next one is like the following week, or one is even like, I think, don't quote me on this, but off the top of my head, I think it's language 1, and then there's a 2-week gap in language 2, but you've got a literature in the middle there. So if you know that, language 1, you know, is on like I say, it's on the creative writing. I think it's the creative writing is paper 1 now. They've changed it this year. and then the other one is viewpoints. Well, don't revise all the stuff on viewpoints and stuff like that. Just look at, you know, these 4 weeks, maybe look at language paper 1 so maybe start looking at language paper 1 and 2 this week coming up, but then the following week you might do the both of them, and then the following week you might only look at paper 1, and then after that exam's over with, you've got 2 weeks to look at paper 2. So all the slots that were language 1, obviously they're now clear, so you can up those with language 2, just like the previous week you might have done language 1, doubled the language 1. So you kind of want to make sure that you've got a working version of this. It's not set in stone, because as your exams go on, as you get closer to a certain paper, you want to up the time on that. And as each paper goes off and you're doing your exams, you can then obviously take those out and replace them with the revision for the things you've kind of left for a bit later, because you know those exams are later on. So, you know, you can use your initiative with things like that. So hopefully that gives you a really good idea of how to schedule your revision. If you're using a calendar like iCal, I use what do you call it? iCal on the iPhone, the Apple one. That's what I was looking for. That's the word. If you're using the Apple calendar, then obviously you can put this in and you can do repeats and things, and you can lift it and move it and things like that, which is really great. So as long as you make sure that you're still studying, if this is how you're doing it with the papers, as long as you're still studying these things, if you can't do, or you're too tired to do maths paper 2 on that night, move it to Sunday, you know, and you just do exactly that on your calendar. If you don't have an online calendar, I'd really strongly suggest that you get one, because you could do all of this a lot easier. If you don't have one, or that really stresses you out and you want it separate to all your social activities and other things going on, then use Excel or use Word, just to show you what I use. Okay, let me just share my screen with you here, and I'll show you what I mean if you're not familiar with this. So you can get one of these, you can get a Google Calendar, you can get whatever. And what I love about this is I can record everything, but then if it doesn't work, I can be like, right, okay, so Dex couldn't do today, so I'm going to move him over there, and then that changes. I can do it only for this event, but because it's a repeating event, I can do that. But so just for that one, and I'm going to move him back because I'm going to forget otherwise. So it's been a bit slow because I'm sharing it. But if you're going to create an event, if you go to here, so you might do maths 1, maths paper 1, or you might do maths algebra. Okay. If you go to here, you can go to repeat, and obviously you don't repeat it every day, but you might want to do it every week. So then I do it every week. I know my exams finish, or my last maths exam that I need algebra for is on I don't know when your maths exams are, so I'm just going to say the 23rd of like June, which is a Sunday. Let's say 21st of June then. You can stop repeat on a date. So then when you go through, see how it's there every week, maths, you can see that every single week, there it is again, okay? So you can do it that way. Or you can do it so it repeats a certain number of times. So you could say after 4 times if it's every week, and then it repeats. So you don't have to write it every single time. So it just saves you a lot of time, even just putting your timetable together. I'm going to delete that because I'm not doing my maths revision. Sorry to rub it in. I did mine. So, and do you know what? It's actually a really useful skill as well. If you don't already have a diary, it's a really, really life-saving, useful skill to get used to making a diary and using it, because things like you can share it with other people. So in my lifestyle now, obviously this is a long way off for you guys because I'm ancient, but I can share my diary with my husband. So I know here, for example, this shows that he's not replied. Charlie has a pediatric appointment, my son, and I can share that with my husband. So that gets emailed to him, and then I know that he's seen it. That'll come up and I'll know he's seen it, and I'll know that he knows he's taken him to the doctors, because obviously I am teaching. I'm just wondering if he's actually taken him actually. So yeah, sorry, that's just throwing me. So you can use these diaries all the time to kind of basically plan out how you're going to be doing things, but more importantly, that you can move it around and you know what you're up to and where you're going and what you're doing. You can move things so that you're not, you can easily change, because you are a human being, not a robot. You know, you're not going to be able to do all of that in just off the top of your head. It also gives you psychologically that feeling of, I know what I'm doing, I know I've planned, I know that and also when I know when I have my free time, I can switch off. And that is one of the things that is really, really important, because if you can't switch off and have your time out, you are going to really struggle with retaining the information that you're studying when you are revising. And that's the last thing you want to be doing. You don't want to be revising and revising and revising and nothing's going in because you're so tired, because you're trying to over revise. Okay, let me just save this as our timetable so I can send it to you. Revision timetable. So that's our revision sort of scheduling. Next, I want to take you into a form of revision that I do. So it's all very well writing all this down, but what do we actually do when we revise? Okay, so what I tend to do is summarize. So obviously I'm going to take you on the English version of this because this is what I teach, and I know it a little bit better to be able to share with you how I will do it, but you will have the knowledge of all your subjects on how to do this. So if I'm going to be revising, I have one task, and that is to summarize. Now, you may have your own way of revising, and whatever way works for you, stick with it if it's working. But when you are, sorry, I'm writing as well as talking. When you are, if you're unsure or you're not sure what to do, then I want you to take this on board and think about how this can help you as certainly as a starting point. So the two things you need to do: summarize and past exam papers under exam conditions. Okay. So the nice thing about this is you don't have to worry about too much. It's all there for you. So if you are taking, for example, if you're doing your paper one, or let's say we're doing literature, and we're looking at our Shakespeare part of that paper, okay? We're all doing Macbeth on here, so that's useful. So I know that in that half hour, I need to start summarising. Now, if I know I've got 4 weeks, I'm going to try and summarise in 1.5 hour slot a week. I'm going to summarise. So 1.5 hour a week. I'm going to summarise, and 1.5 hour a week, I'm going to do an exam question. That means because I've got half an hour, that means I've got enough time to do 2 exam questions, because remember, we're going to spend 20 to 25 minutes planning our answer, and then 20 to 25 minutes writing the essay from the plan. So if that's the case, that will get you doing, in your half hour of exam practice for English literature every week, you're going to be doing a plan in one session, right up the next. So if we then go back to our timetable, we know that we can then put in there, actually, if I'm going to print out 4 of those sheets, so I've actually got my 4 weeks, I could then put one of my half hour slots, I'm going to put exam technique, so English lit exam, and then one is going to be English lit summary. Okay, so I know I'm going to get in my exam practice, but I also want to be revising what's in the paper as well. So to revise Macbeth, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend half an hour a week summarizing. Now, what I mean by this is identify what your weakness is. Is it the themes? Is it the quotes? Is it the story? You know, could be something as simple as that. If it's nothing or everything, this is what you want to be looking at, the story, okay? And then what you can do is for every half an hour that you have, maybe the first session you do, you might do something like look up a timeline on your on Google of the synopsis or the story. And then the next session, or it could be that session, depending on how quickly you're going to try and memorize that. And then maybe do a little test. So then you might test yourself. Then maybe, I'm trying to think how many acts there are off the top of my head. I can't remember. Let me have a quick look. How many acts in Macbeth? 5. Okay, lovely. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to take so out of my 4 sessions over the 4 weeks, I'm going to look up my timeline and test myself. Session 2, I'm going to summarize Act 1 and 2. Session 3, Act 3 and 4. And finally, I'm going to summarize Act 5. And what's brilliant about that is when it comes to you actually coming to the weeks of your exam, you will have these notes of summary. Act 1 and 2, Act 3 and 4, Act 5, probably on one, maybe half a sheet of paper. You want to keep it very basic. And by doing that, firstly, by reading it to summarize it, you're already revising. And by summarizing it, you're giving yourself notes to look at nearer the time. So you're not having to spend hours and hours and hours revising. But all of that is going to have gone into your mind because you've been summarizing it. And I think I've said this before, that I think the best way of learning is to imagine you're teaching. And so by summarizing, you're almost summarizing it as if you're going to teach it to somebody else. And by doing that, you're actually revising without realizing it. But your task is summarizing. And that's sort of like, to me, that feels really kind of like doable. It's like, okay, in this half an hour, I need to summarize Act 1 and 2. Okay, well, I can do that. Let me have a quick squiz through the script. What's going on in there? Oh, right. Okay, so first he meets the witches, and then he has the 3 predictions and my bullet. So I might, my summary notes might look a bit like this. Okay, so I might go Act 1, witches. Then it's Macbeth and Banquo, M and B. I put a little Q there because then I know what I'm talking about. So the witches, they have the 3 prophecies. So we've got Thane of Glamis, Cawdor, and King. And they say that Banquo's kids. And what I would probably do actually is draw a little crown over the top of that, meaning Banquo's kids would be king or queen. But if you're going to do it all on the computer, just put like that, okay? Then Macbeth and Banquo, they talk about supernatural, and Macbeth excited by witches, Banquo not. Okay? Witches? Yeah? And so this is how I'm going to summarize it as I go through. It doesn't take very long, but actually it means that when I come to look at that again, I can be like, right, that's Act 1, that's what happens, they're the scenes, and that's what's talked about, and they're the themes that are in there. Okay? Just makes it so easy. And they're what my notes are going to look like. All right? Does anybody have any questions up to this point? Just gonna stop sharing and come onto the chat. Any questions up to this point on any revision or anything they're unsure of? Just give me a yes or no. Chat. No questions from George. Lovely. Sophie, have you got any questions? No, lovely. Okay, so hopefully that's all been quite clear. Like I said, I know it's quite pedantic in some ways and quite, you do need to tailor it for yourself, but it does actually give you that kind of insight into how to do it. If you can put aside today, if you're not doing it right now, if you can put aside an hour maybe just to put together your plan, I promise you, you'll just feel so much better. And then also by the time it comes to your exams, you'll also feel better because we're also using the psychology of the fact that you are by putting something very specific in each of those half-hour slots, you are psychologically feeling that feeling of completion, that achievement. Whereas if you're just like, I'm going to revise English tonight, there's no end point, and so you might always feel like you haven't done enough, or you might always feel like, well, actually I didn't really know what to do, so I've given up and not done anything, or well, I kind of looked at Macbeth and sort of, looked at the cover and read a scene, so I've kind of done stuff, so that'll do, you know so this way it's much more measurable. And this is one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about as well, which we'll get onto a bit more in a minute, but SMART goals. So when you come to your revision, they are actually mini goals that you're making. So these SMART goals need to be small, measurable. I can't remember what. I can't talk to you now. Small, measurable, and there's like a kind of I'm gonna look up the analogy. Sorry, I was just interrupted by my husband. SMART goals. Here we go. This is it. So I'm gonna show you this, and this is how we're going to be looking at how you're going to achieve what you want to achieve when it comes to your GCSEs. Where have I put SMART? There it is. Okay. So it's specific, not SMART. So people use different things all the time, but so it's going to be specific. So set with real numbers and deadlines and things like that. This is looking at business. Measurable, make sure your goal is trackable. So in other words, you're saying how much you're going to be doing. Attainable, work towards a goal that is challenging but possible. Well, that's irrelevant. We know what your goal is. It's to revise for your GCSEs to get that best grade you can. Make them realistic. Don't try and revise the whole of your English GCSE, English language and literature on one half-an-hour slot. And then time bound, giving yourself a deadline. So that's by putting in an actual time slot. So that's what we're doing with that. And that's how a lot of businesses operate, by doing that, making sure they've got a SMART goal. Okay. We're starting to get into a little bit of mindset now. So I'm going to pause there. I know it's a little bit early because it's 10 to. So we're going to have a 5-minute break, if that's all right with you guys. And then when we come back, we'll be looking at our hour of power and what I mean by that, and a question and answer session if you want it. And yeah, so I will see you back at 10:55. Okay, see you in a bit.